Being an archaeologist isn't exactly the most dazzling career out there. Most of the time, you're knee-deep in freezing mud somewhere remote or squeezing through a damp, pitch-black tomb surrounded by centuries-old skeletons. But what makes the grind worthwhile are the legendary finds you sometimes stumble across. These moments don't just teach the world something new, they can flip the entire book of human history. Let's take a look at a few of them, starting with number 15. Chanilo. In the arid expanse of Peru's Casmasichín oasis stands a sprawling hilltop complex, long thought to be a fortress. With distinct residential zones and ceremonial gathering spaces, it was clearly a cultural center 2,300 years ago. But recent re-evaluation of the site's 13 towers led archaeologists to a striking conclusion: Chanilo may house the oldest solar observatory in the Americas. Positioned in a precise line, the towers form a solar calendar when viewed from two stone observation platforms located on either side. As the sun shifts along the horizon during the year, it aligns with different towers, allowing ancient sky watchers to chart time with incredible accuracy. The Incas are widely recognized for their astronomical knowledge, but whoever lived at Chanilo may have been observing celestial cycles centuries earlier. These discoveries challenge long-held assumptions and suggest that advanced solar tracking in South America predates the Inca by hundreds of years. The people of Chanilo likely developed an intricate understanding of time, ritual, and seasonal change, long before history gave them credit. Number 14. Old figurine of falconer in Norway. We're going to Oslo, where a beautifully carved 13th century figurine of a person holding a falcon was found in 2021. We say person because the archaeologists who found it still aren't sure about the figure's gender. That detail matters since they suspect it could represent either a king or queen from Norway's distant past. The discovery came at the end of a brutal workday for archaeologist Ingeborg Flo Grindhaug, who was seriously reconsidering the choice to be outside in the snow, digging in 12 degrees Celsius. She was so exhausted she initially thought she'd pulled a fishbone from the ground. But after brushing away the snow and sludge, the real shape of the object emerged. The crown is clearly visible, and the falcon hints at royalty, though women were known to train falcons in medieval Norway too. This tiny artifact might be one of the earliest known Scandinavian depictions of falconry, but much about it remains unclear. Number 13. Montezuma sits treasure. The legend of Montezuma's lost treasure, said to be worth billions today, has haunted explorers for centuries. It all traces back to 1519, when Hernán Cortés entered Tenochtitlan, capital of the Aztec Empire. Montezuma II initially welcomed the Spanish, but relations quickly turned hostile. In May 1520, during the Toxcatl festival, Spanish soldiers slaughtered hundreds of Aztec nobles. In retaliation, the Aztecs revolted, and Montezuma was taken hostage. The Spanish eventually tried to flee with vast amounts of looted gold and gems. But on the night of July 1st, 1520, La Noche Triste, they were ambushed. Desperate to escape, they dumped treasure into the lake to lighten their load. Some say the Aztecs retrieved it and buried it far from the city, possibly in what is now the American Southwest. In 1981, a gold bar dating to Montezuma's era was found in Mexico City, fueling the belief that the hoard still lies hidden. No one's found it yet, but that hasn't stopped people from chasing it and maybe never will. What do you think about it? Is it real? Number 12. Sorby Castle. For years, the lost Swedish castle of Sorby was believed to be little more than a legend until August 2021, when that belief changed. Archaeologist Jan Henrik Fahlgren uncovered its remnants in a dried lakebed after tracking down a cryptic reference buried inside a 1704 dissertation. That trail led him to Skedamose, not far from Kävlinge in Östergötland. It's a strange setting for a fortress steeped in local myth, especially since the area is historically known as a major sacrificial site, one active as far back as 2,400 years ago and continuing until the 1100s. Excavations at Eskadimose have turned up more than a ton of human remains, along with gold and massive weapon caches. What's left of Sorby Castle is barely visible to the eye. There are no standing walls or foundations. It's believed the stones were repurposed for a nearby Lutheran church. Thanks to ground-penetrating radar, archaeologists have now seen the castle's outline for the first time in over 300 years, confirming the myth was real all along. Number 11. Evidence of biblical earthquake. The Bible describes a devastating earthquake striking Jerusalem 2,800 years ago, mentioned in both the Book of Amos and the Book of Zechariah. Finding actual archaeological traces of that event has proven difficult, until 2021, when experts in Jerusalem announced that they may have uncovered proof. The Israeli Antiquities Authority discovered a layer of structural damage in the Silwan neighborhood, where broken pottery and cracked walls suggest a massive seismic event. Other possibilities were explored, but there's no ash layer to support a fire, and no signs of water damage that would suggest flooding. Jerusalem doesn't often experience violent earthquakes. The last major one hit in 1927, but they do happen. Interestingly, further investigations at Megiddo, 80 miles to the north, turned up similar signs of destruction from the same period. If both sites were affected by the same quake, it must have been enormous. It's no surprise that such a catastrophe would be written into religious texts that survived long after the tremors faded. Number 10. Gold mask fragment from lost Shu state. China's history is as vast as it is layered, and not every dynasty left clear records. One such mystery surrounds the ancient Shu state. That's why the discovery of a fragmented gold mask in March 2021 is so crucial. Found at the Sangsingdui archaeological site, arguably the country's most important, the mask is roughly 3,000 years old and is made of 84% pure gold. It's one of over 500 objects uncovered during the same excavation, many believed to be Shu in origin. The haul includes artifacts crafted from ivory, jade, bronze, and gold, pointing to a wealthy, advanced society. The Shu left behind almost no written records, so their material culture is vital. Experts believe the mask may have been worn by a priest or spiritual leader during sacred rituals. Sangsingdui has been central to redefining what we know about early Chinese civilization, and each new artifact, especially one of this caliber, brings the puzzle of the Shu people into slightly sharper focus. Number 9. Chinorto Mummies. When we think of mummies, most people picture ancient Egypt, but they weren't the first to master preservation. That honor belongs to the Chinorto, a coastal people who lived between present-day Chile and Peru. Some 7,000 years ago, they began mummifying their dead, 2,000 years before the Egyptians. In July 2021, their burial sites were officially added to UNESCO's World Heritage List. These early fishermen survived along the edge of the Atacama Desert for thousands of years. Their civilization emerged about 9,000 years ago, but mummification didn't begin until 2 millennia later. Unlike the Egyptians, who reserved the process for elites, the Chinorto mummified nearly everyone: adults, children, even unborn infants. Some mummies were even carried to ceremonies, possibly as revered ancestors. This hints at a form of ancestor worship that predates written history. The Chinorto's burial techniques reveal a deep connection to death, community, and remembrance, centuries before other civilizations copied. Number 8. Enamel Earring. Well now, let's move on to an incredible 11th century earring. It was found by an amateur metal detectorist in December 2021 in a field near Bolving, West Jutland. It's believed to be the first of its type discovered in Scandinavia. The earring is a cloisonné enamel piece shaped like a crescent, backed in gold, and bordered with even more gold that frames its purple, green, and blue enamel design. Gold thread overlays the enamel, forming the outlines of 2 birds beside a tree. That tree could symbolize the mythological Yggdrasil, the tree of life in Norse legend. Still, this isn't a Norse artifact. Experts believe it was crafted in Egypt and somehow made its way to West Jutland through trade or possibly theft. The looting theory seems weaker since no Viking settlements are recorded in that region, but trade seems just as unlikely. Regardless, historians agree, a piece of this quality likely belonged to someone from the uppermost levels of society. Number 7. Crucifixion Ivory in New York. We usually avoid museum pieces for these videos since it feels like cheating, but sometimes an artifact earns its place. This one certainly does. It's a stunning Byzantine ivory carving of the Crucifixion now housed at the Met Museum in New York City. Experts believe it dates from the 10th or 11th century and may have royal roots. One theory is that Queen Felicia, wife of 11th century Aragon and Navarra King Sancho V. Ramirez, donated it to the Santa Cruz de la Cerros nunnery, which she founded. She made several grand contributions to the religious house. To the right of St. John in the carving, there's a sapphire seal bearing 4 of the 99 names of God. Carvings like this were held in very high regard in medieval Europe and often ended up in church treasuries or bound into illuminated books. Its origin isn't fully confirmed, but what's 100% clear is its craftsmanship and religious value made it a sacred prize. Number 6. Burial jars in Turkey. In 2015, the biggest archaeological news from Turkey came when researchers found a vast burial site from the kingdom of Urartu, which rose in the region nearly 2,900 years ago and endured for about 3 centuries. The excavation team uncovered a wide field of Pithos burial chambers in Van province. Still, they were hesitant to open the jars, not knowing what might be inside. The tombs seem to have been created roughly a century after the kingdom's founding. These enormous ceramic containers were part of a funerary practice unique to this civilization. The site, positioned below a palace and next to a fortress, appeared to be the resting ground of the elite. Then came the twist. Once opened, the jars weren't burial containers at all. They held massive stores of grain, wine, and butter. How the experts misread the signs so badly remains a mystery. Their assumption was wildly off. Let's just say they were left with more butter than bodies. Number 5. Himalayan Towers. The Himalayan mountains are already steeped in mystery, but the towering star-shaped structures found in remote villages take it to another level. Standing over 100 feet tall, these towers defy time and sometimes even earthquakes. Locals say they're indestructible, and the lack of damage across centuries backs that up. Their design doesn't match anything else in the region, and ancient Chinese and Himalayan texts barely acknowledge them. Carbon dating has been frustratingly inconsistent, placing them anywhere between 500 and 1,800 years old. One theory suggests they were commissioned by elite families as markers of status and dominance. It fits they're usually built at village centers and built tall enough to be seen for miles. But that still doesn't explain how such intricate star-shaped architecture was achieved with the tools available over 1,000 years ago. These towers remain anonymous giants out of sync with their surroundings, with no clear origin, known builders, or full explanation for how they're still standing. Number 4. Rare Umayad inscriptions on ancient stone. In early 2022, archaeologists excavating the ancient city of Knidos in Turkey found 4 rare inscriptions linked to the Umayyad Caliphate. Etched into marble and limestone blocks, these texts date to the brief window between 685 and 711 CE, when the Umayyads held influence over the area. Although Knidos itself was originally a Greek settlement that later became a major hub for politics and trade, this discovery adds a new chapter to its long history. The site was once home to a well-known medical school, training several of the ancient world's most prominent physicians. The inscriptions describe military expeditions toward Istanbul and name all participating tribes, including their leaders. Many of the names listed are completely new to historians, offering a rare glimpse into early Islamic presence in western Anatolia. These are the oldest Islamic-era artifacts ever found in this part of Turkey, and archaeologists now hope to uncover more inscriptions that could shed light on who these leaders were and what became of them. Number 3. Shang Dynasty Sword. In 2014, an 11-year-old boy named Yang Jungsi made a find while washing his hands in the Laozulan River in Jiangsu Province, China. What he thought was just a strange piece of metal turned out to be a 3,000-year-old bronze sword dating back to the early Shang dynasty. The weapon, just under a foot in length, is believed to have been a ceremonial object rather than a battlefield weapon. Its narrow blade and ornate hilt suggest it may have belonged to a noble, official, or spiritual figure. Experts at the local Heritage Bureau confirmed its age and importance, tying it to one of the earliest periods in Chinese civilization. Though expert archaeologists hoped the discovery would lead to more finds in the river, further searches revealed nothing significant. Even so, this lone artifact provided a unique glimpse into China's ancient past, and for Yang and his dad, it turned an ordinary moment into a memory that archaeology itself couldn't have written better. Number 2, 3,000-year-old wine sealed in bronze kettles. If you think of China's wine legacy, chances are it's not the first country that comes to mind, but it probably should be. The Chinese have been fermenting wine for at least 3,000 years. In mid-2021, archaeologists unearthed 8 ancient bronze kettles from a burial site in Yuncheng, Shaanxi province, dating to the early Zhou dynasty. At first glance, the kettles appeared empty, but testing revealed clear liquid inside each, later confirmed as a type of fruit wine. This makes it the oldest example of pre-Qin dynasty wine ever discovered in China. Prior to this, the oldest known wine in the country was about 2,200 years old. This new find pushes the timeline back by 800 years. While ancient Chinese wine has appeared in texts, finding actual preserved liquid is exceedingly rare. The vessels themselves are ornate, showcasing early craftsmanship. This discovery highlights how refined and ceremonial Zhou culture was, especially around burial rites. Number 1. Biddenham. We end in the English town of Biddenham, where archaeologists have been conducting pre-construction excavations ahead of a new housing development. They struck archaeological gold almost instantly in early August 2021 when they uncovered the remains of a lost settlement. The find is so recent that experts haven't yet determined the exact age of the site, though it's likely from either the Neolithic period or the early Bronze Age. Evidence suggests people lived here for a long stretch. Layers from the Iron Age and Anglo-Saxon era have been found at the very same spot. A central structure at the site may have served as the focal point for ceremonial or ritual activities nearly 6,000 years ago. The Anglo-Saxon parts are more identifiable, including a structure with sunken floors and an oven. While construction will eventually continue, the archaeological team has been given time to fully study and recover every artifact of potential significance before development begins, ensuring this layered history isn't lost under concrete. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you very soon.